First comedian tonight, a professional wrestler turned stand-up comedian. He was recently in clubs and theaters in Pittsburgh, D.C., and far more insignificant towns. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Super Bowl, Tate Griffen.
Thank you. How is everybody doing? I think they're taping it and it's going live, so let's make it sound like it's really exciting. How's everybody doing? So I was just talking about people celebrating. In 2 weeks, my wife and I will have our 21st wedding anniversary. Thank you. She deserves 99% of that applause. I deserve 1%. But we're going to be married 21 years. It's like, that means our marriage is old enough to drink. So we are going to, no kidding, fly to Epcot and get shit-faced in every country. We're just going to work our way all the way around, so it ought to be pretty fun. A couple things I want to tell you guys about me. I'm 6'5", and I weigh 315 pounds, and I drive a Geo Metro LSI convertible. This is big. I don't really get in it, I put it on. And my wife says that whenever I have my hair up and the top down, I look like a Happy Meal toy. So I was doing my thing. Speaking of Happy Meals, when I dream about eating them, I always think about them by the dozen. Like, I like to get a whole bunch of it. How many guys eat fast food every single day? Okay. How many people want to tell the truth and say they eat fast food at least once a week? I am a fast food junkie, as in, I eat it every single day. I am an addict and I have 0 days clean. That's where I'm at. I have to eat it all the time. And speaking of fast food and hamburgers and all that fun stuff, depending on who you talk to, I either decided to step up and donate some of my time to the local homeless shelter, or there was some unpleasantness at the local Burger King over what I consider to be an angry Whopper. The police were called and I have some community service that I have to do. Either way, this is what happens. I go into the local homeless shelter, this is true. I stepped in there to help them out, and they're having a meeting, and it turns out that they have 45 homeless gentlemen there to meet me. Great. And I come in there, and when I get there, I'm right in the middle of their meeting, and apparently there's this one gentleman that interrupts all the time. And he has something that he wants to air about the floor that they live on, something that he wants to say. Now, the gentleman that is in charge, that I'm kind of replacing, an old Southern man, and he's standing there, he's like, "Now, Mr. Lawson, you're more than welcome, take your turn, but I need you to watch your language. You can say whatever you want. Please just watch your language, get your point across, and do it respectfully." Now, Mr. Lawson is a man that looks like a photo negative of Snoop Dogg if he never made it famous. He's pasty white with these blonde cornrows. So he stands up and he's like, "I'll tell you what's going on. Some motherfucker upstairs," like, "Mr. Lawson, we just told you to watch your language." I was like, "Fine. Some motherfucker upstairs, pardon my language, jumped in the motherfucking refrigerator, pardon my language, and grabbed my motherfucking cheese, pardon my language. They ate my fucking cheese sandwich, pardon my language, and when I found out which son of a bitch, pardon my language, took my fucking cheese sandwich, pardon my language, I am gonna, pardon my language, beat his ass." Now, he said pardon my language before he cussed the last time, so he's fully aware of what's going on here. So they kind of usher him out, and they take me up to my office, which is almost as big as a phone booth. And so I sit down, and this is like 2 hours later, Mr. Lawson comes in and he sits down right across from me. He's like, "I'm supposed to be here to tell you about my goals." I'm like, "All right, I can write that down." It's like, "I see you judging me." It's like, "No, I'm really not. I mean, we've all been somewhere. I think all of us can agree that you're only 1 or 2 wrong turns, or something bad happening. We can all end up there. And some of us, I mean, me, I'm a half a paycheck away from sitting right beside him at the homeless shelter. Yeah, a little hurtful that you guys find that funny, but I'm not wrong with that. So I'm telling him this. I'm looking him in the face and I'm saying, "Look, sir, I don't pass judgment on you at all. You're here for a reason, and that's your own. And while I don't pretend to understand your circumstances, I still respect you. And I'm here if you need somebody to talk to." He looks me right in the face. I kind of thought, like, my first day, we're having a moment. And he looks into me and he goes, "Your breath smell like provolone. Did you eat that cheese sandwich?" No! doing? I just got here. Just got here. Can I tell you guys about my second day? Is that okay? Okay, well, there we go. So part of my job is also to interview the homeless, to determine, I guess, if they're homeless enough to deserve a bed at the homeless shelter. Feels weird, but that's the deal. They said, well, this gentleman you're going to talk to is 66 years old, and apparently when he was 16 years old, he committed a violent felony. We're not allowed to let anybody stay here that's committed a violent felony, but since he was underage and it was 50 years ago, maybe we can make an exception. So I'm thinking, you know, best case scenario, this guy can have a place to live and I have something to do with that. Worst case scenario is I have some material. And here we are. So this gentleman comes in and he sits down across from me. I said, sir, so I was told you committed a violent felony when you were 16. No, I didn't commit a violent felony when I was 16. I was 23. I went to jail for 20 years and got out on good behavior when I was 16. I'm listening. All right, there's still some room here. Well, okay, so just tell me what happened. He goes, well, what I did was I was sitting in my living room and my 5-year-old son's running around like 5-year-olds tend to do. And while he's running around, I'm laying on the couch napping like dads tend to do. And I kind of drifted off, and then I jolted back up. And when I did, I looked at the VCR, and it's only been like 15 minutes. But Billy's nowhere in the living room, and I'm starting to freak out. So I'm looking around everywhere. I'm like, am I going to have to call the police? What am I going to do? Then my mother-in-law, she only lives 2 blocks down, so I called her. I'm like, I can't find Billy. I don't know where he's at. She's like, I was just down there, and you was sleeping. You can't leave a 5-year-old running around the living room while his dad's asleep. Yes, you can. My parents were asleep for 95% of my childhood. But anyway, that's what she said. She's like, you can't do that. He's like, well, I'm going down to get my kid. He's telling me all this. And again, please remember, this is all an effort for him to get a place to live. / me get some material. So he's like, so I drive down 2 blocks down the road, and I get my son, and I walk him out, and I put him in the car. And as soon as I close the door, she's out there yelling at me, cussing at me, calling me every name in the book. And I'm like, I'm not going to do this in front of my son because I'm a good dad. So we walked inside. So we could continue this conversation in there. We're going back and forth. Things start escalating. One thing leads to another. So I killed her. What? Yeah, I stabbed her in the heart. Like, seriously? That's what you did? He goes, yeah, I did. And she's making all these gross gurgling noises. And there was a bat sitting there, so I just bashed her in the skull so she'd stop. I don't know if you know or not, but those kind of noises can haunt you. Okay. So then what happened? He goes, I went to jail. For 20 years, they let me out in good behavior after 16. So when I got out, I had changed, his words not mine, my sexual orientation. Because when you're 23 and blonde and you go into the prison system, when you come out 16 years later, sometimes you've changed. So I came out and I found a younger man and we fell in love and everything was bliss. We had bliss for 5 years. Nobody treats their wife better than I do, and she would never describe it as bliss. How many of you guys are married? By applause. Now keep applauding if it's bliss. Exactly. Exactly. So he's like, so one day, after 5 years of bliss, I come home to our apartment and all the locks are changed. And I'm yelling at him like, Darius, what are you doing? I'm yelling, when you gotta let me in here? You're breaking my heart. What's going on? He's like, I need somebody younger than you. I don't want to be with you no more. I'm like, how can you do this? Please come down. We gotta talk about this. You're breaking my heart. This is horrible. So he comes down, and things start escalating, and one thing leads to another. So I stabbed him. Like, you killed him? And real condescending, he's like, no, I didn't kill him. You know, they call it attempted murder because apparently if you murder somebody, then anything else you ever do to somebody is attempted murder and you couldn't pull it off. Personally, I think if I already murdered somebody, chances are I'd be better at it and I would have killed him if I wanted to. Makes sense? It's like, so no, I didn't. It's like, all right, where did you stab him? It's like, here, and here, and here, and way up here. I was like, yeah, that kind of sounds like you tried to kill him. And with a real condescending look, he's like, if I was trying to kill him, I'd have stabbed him in the heart like I did my mother-in-law. Dumbass. Like I'm the one that's wrong. And I was like, okay. So you didn't try to kill him? He goes, well, they got me on attempted murder because I stabbed him back twice when he's trying to run away and I was chasing him. Okay. So then what happened? I got 30 years. I served 20 on good behavior. I think that he only gets good behavior because there's nobody in prison to stab him. But I don't know. It's like, so I did 20 of those years, and then I got out. And ever since I got out, I've been clean as a whistle. All right, how long have you been out? I said, I got out last Tuesday. Do you guys have cable? I was like, no, sir. And at the risk of escalating things or one thing leading to another, I'm going to have to ask you to get the hell out of here. And so he did. I don't have a particular ending to that, so I'll just take a small bow. My wife, to change things abruptly and completely out of sequence, my wife has a doctorate in psychology. She does mental health therapy, addictions therapy, and psychotherapy. And it's great, but she can get real dark real quick. I'll give you an example. Did you guys watch fails, like Fail Army? People getting hurt? Spy Claws, who knows what fails are? Well, for the uninitiated, anytime you ever watch America's Funniest Home Videos, there was like 30 seconds where they show that montage of somebody getting hurt the same way, like jumping on a trampoline, and then somebody throwing a snowball and hitting them in the crotch, and they show a bunch of those clips. Those are fails, and they're awesome, and I love them. And I can sit and watch them for hours and hours and hours. My favorite is when somebody lights a drink and tries to take a drink of it, sets their own face on fire, and is punching themselves in the head trying to put it out. Like that's better than burning alive. I just love that. It's like Darwin in motion. It's awesome. So anyway, I told my wife, like, you gotta pick out a fail. We'll watch some fails. She's like, I don't watch some fails. Like, pick out anything. You can pick anything you want, like sled riding fails or anything. Just pick something. She's like, all right. Swimming fails. When you fail at swimming, you drown. Swimming failed? Fine, airplane fails. Yeah, when an airplane crashes, everybody dies. It's like, no, like Halloween fails where you trick a kid and they think they're getting candy and they get like a potato or something. Like, you can do holiday fails. Like, all right, how about Christmas fails with a focus on extreme child gift disappointment? My God. I mean, it's kind of hot, but still, it's like, oh. Now, I've known her for, like I said, we've been married 21 years in 2 weeks. My son is a teenager, and so he's just getting to that age where we can kind of be our adult selves around him, like we're not trying to set a good example any longer. You know what I mean? Like, she'll be sitting there having a drink, like, Mom, I didn't drink, fucking do, back up. Back out there. So anyway, we're up at the market, and he walks over, and he's like, they quit making Trix yogurt. They don't make it anymore. There's like no Trix yogurt. I just looked at my phone. They're not making it anymore. And my wife's like, well, you know, the older you get, the more things you have to say goodbye to. He's like, what? He's like, yeah, the older you get, the more things you say goodbye to. Today it's Trix yogurt. Tomorrow it's your parents. Not too long before it's dignity. Oh my God, what's wrong with you? Worst thing I ever heard. It was kind of awesome, but still, that's where that was. Do we have any wrestling fans in the house tonight? All right, well, my brother and I spent about 20 years as pro wrestlers. When we were kids, it's what we loved more than anything. I was weak and brittle, so I pick a fake sport. I didn't play in any of the real ones where they're actually keeping score. So I tried to get as close as I could to being in the play and do as little as physically as humanly possible. So anyway, when we were kids, if somebody won something, they weren't the winner, they were the champion. And since I was an indoor arts and crafts kid, I was all about making belts out of aluminum foil and cardboard and markers. So any activity that he and I engaged in, there was a championship belt. Whether it was dodgeball or lawn darts or, kickball, whatever, there was a title. The problem is he's a much better athlete than I am, so he had all the belts. And I didn't really mind because I was always the number one contender fighting for the belts and fighting a good fight. The problem was as we got a little older, more kids moved into the neighborhood, more people started competing, and I found that every single time somebody else jumped in for one of these titles, I moved further down the contender list and realized the only reason I was number one contender is because there's only two son of a bitches even trying to win the belts. So I tried to get, a little creative when it came time to make the belts. There was an arts and crafts champion. Me. There was a mini golf scorekeepers champion. I wore that title proudly. I made a championship belt maker's championship belt. You better believe it was pretty friggin' awesome. Bedazzled, and it was awesome. I even had the participation championship. The participation championship. And I was all about it until one day I was telling my wife about that. She goes, "So you invented the participation trophy?" She goes, "This is like 1987. You invented the participation trophy." Oh, I did. I did come up with a participation trophy. And I'm not judging anybody, so if any of you helicopter parents out there think everybody should get a trophy, that's your business. But right here, this is what you end up looking like. This is what ends up happening. My name is Tate Griffen, and I want to thank all of you so much. Thank you very much.